Hello, everyone. I'm Dayne Young from UGAsports.com, joined alongside Brent Rollins from Pro Football Focus. We bring you Film Don't Lie every week on UGAsports.com, and we wanted to bring you a bit of an extra look into what was a pretty special drive for Georgia late in the second quarter, Brent.
Yeah, it was. It's when you think about it, the last 2 weeks now, they have had drives at the end of the half where they've been in the 2 minute drill and gone down and scored touchdowns and gone to the half, on that sort of positive momentum. And when we think about this game against Tennessee, score, situation, a 3-and-out here would have been really bad, and it didn't turn out that way at all.
So let's bring up this drive. We're going to go play by play, kind of go slow, show you what we see here and what was so special about this. Just to reset where this is, Georgia was down early against Tennessee, does have a 7-point lead at this point. So 3:42 left in the second quarter. Georgia leads 17-10. You see the field position. This is a 90-yard drive to go down the field and take a 2-touchdown lead. And Brent, you were saying earlier, if this is a punt, Tennessee gets this at the 40-yard line. If it's a 3-and-out,
they're 40
with a chance to go tie.
Yeah, and then it's a whole different ball game with them having the momentum going into the half versus you getting the ball up 2 touchdowns to start the second half.
One of the special things that they did on this drive was find a variety of ways to get the ball to James Cook. It started right off the bat. So Brent, just tell me what you're seeing here as I play it one time through, and then we'll bring it back.
Well, you have the switch, the little shift that they have, and that's what Georgia's done a lot this year. They're probably in the top 10 now in the Power 5 in terms of use of shifts and motions. And the big key, if you pause it there, is go back just a little bit, is you have Jermaine Burton and then A.D. Mitchell at the bottom of the screen. I'm pretty sure that's him at the bottom of the screen. But what you see is Burton and Mitchell are both on the line of scrimmage. And with both of those guys on the line of scrimmage, your play selection here is actually is a lot more limited because Burton can't go out for a pass. He's covered up. He has to either block the ball and the ball being thrown behind the line of scrimmage, which is why you see kind of a bubble action from Kyrus over here, or you're running the football. And for the most part, Georgia in this formation just runs the football and runs downhill. So they run a little split zone with Darnell Washington coming back to the other side of the field. And what happens here is the biggest thing is the center, looking at Van Pran clearing a hole, and then also Tennessee working up the field. And when Tennessee had to work up the field, Darnell didn't block a soul, and he didn't have to. Like he if you go back and look, the edge defender who's on the 10-yard line, he doesn't get touched. He comes up the field, stays behind there. Darnell just kind of, bodies up McClendon from behind there and doesn't get touched. But still, because of the way they push up field, your guards doing work, and then also Van Pran at center doing work to his left, right there, you have a massive hole. And what's good about this is that how Tennessee adjusted is they adjusted in number 2 at the top with the sort of black socks, black arm sleeves, and the white gloves, Alontae Taylor. Now he's in the box, and that's a corner. And a corner in the box versus a linebacker. The linebacker is kind of coming up and filling that hole quickly, maybe turns that into a 2-yard gain. But when you force now, because of your formation, you force the corner to be in the box and play in the box, he sits, and that's not sort of comfortable for him. Now he has to tackle, and Cook does a good job of accelerating through contact and getting some extra yards.
The other 2 things I noticed on this particular play, as I bring it to the beginning, this was a good punt from Tennessee to get to this point. Look at their secondary guys. They're trying to get the crowd hyped up. They're really trying to take momentum at this pivotal point in the game. And so for Georgia to get 9 yards off the bat on this drive, it's really a game changer. And the other thing I like to see, a new right guard in Xavier Truss in on this play, slipping past as he's supposed to, getting to the next level. Does he deliver a perfect block? No, he does a little bit of shuffling, but he fills the space. He occupies a guy and lets James Cook do his thing.
Yeah, so much of blocking is not necessarily about destroying guys or pancaking guys, and we're actually going to see that later on the drive from Van Pran. But so much of blocking is just getting the guy turned in the direction that you want to turn. So, by the way, now we got split sort of inside zone, concept 1. Now we go play 2, second and 1.
This is the second play. It's 2nd and 1. Tell me about this formation.
This is my youth offense. This is one of our common formations, but we have twins to the wide side of the field, trips if you include the offset tight end there, and then a single receiver to the into the boundary. I think I'm almost certain here we get a motion from Bowers to the other side of the field. Or no, not this one. This is guard tackle, but it's counter. They run counter here, and you got backside guard and tackle pulling. And you think about how much you have to play in tight spaces as a running back. And Cook does that very well here. Sees the crease, accelerates. Van Pran, and what's key here is that Van Pran is able to get to that guy just enough and not have Moore McClendon be pushed back into the back or not get enough penetration where your timing is off. Again, McClendon possibly, you're not going to call that a hold, but gets his arm around, but still gets somewhat of a pancake block there when he comes around as the lead block. And then Truss with a good kick out block doesn't necessarily, again, it's not about movement, but he's in the way. The guy's not penetrating. And then Cooks finds the crease and gets up the field.
Look how quickly Truss gets his shoulders turned on this guy to be able to push him out the other way.
Yep. That's what it is.
He's got full leverage.
He hit the correct.
And he's just a big guy.
Yeah, and he hit the correct shoulder, got him turned, and that's all he has to do. Back's gone. He's done. He's done his job.
So that sets up another 1st and 10, the third.
I'm saying we got inside zone, a little bit, split sign, inside zone. Now we got counter. And then this, by the way, I will say I think this is somewhat of a formational tell for Georgia, is that when they run and they put the tight end here, it's very often this pull and lead play. And now who does the pulling and the leading in terms of that a lot of it's based upon who's uncovered, how the defense is aligned. But this is one where I'm sitting here on my couch at home and like, yep, here comes pull and lead because of the success they're having and also trying to run a little bit of clock. But that's with Bowers on the top side of the screen blocking down. You have Truss and then Van Pran leading, Truss kicking the corner, Van Pran leading, and Van Pran does some work here.
And he barks about him having done some work, as we see.
Yes, and I think he even actually barks at the wrong guy, possibly. But let's watch that in full speed and focus on Van Pran, because his block there was a little bit of a destruction.
Here's Van Pran at center. We'll follow him with the cursor. Sliding through. Boom!
33. Sorry about your luck, pal. And then 6 is on the ground, and Van Pran's like, hey, boy, look what I just did to you. Oh, it wasn't you, though. It was 33. But I will say, go back a little bit. And this is one of the things that actually happened to twice, and we're going to show tomorrow on Film Don't Lie, the offensive piece. This happened twice to Van Pran, or not to Van Pran, but to Truss, and this can't happen. This is a defensive back putting you on your knee. Like, that just can't happen. And it happened later in the game. He got knocked over by a linebacker. And granted, that's a big guy in space, and if you get the wrong leverage, you hit those guys the wrong way, they're going to get that way. But it's just one of those things where he's got to be a little bit better in space, but still getting in the way, at least giving a crease, and you have a positive gain on first down and not getting penetration, not getting anything in the backfield.
Him going to the ground actually forces James Cook to do a little hop step over him to avoid being tripped by his legs on the ground.
Yep, while keeping his eyes up
from there.
Because when you think about that, he could have cut back had he not had to do that. But still, positive gain. You've now milked a minute and a half or so off the clock. You've in essence now you flip field position for the most part as well. This is a great setup. 2nd and 7. Here we go.
So as an offensive coordinator, at what point are you saying, okay, now we can be really aggressive here? Like we can go get these points, whereas maybe it was, well, let's milk some of this clock and see what happens. 90 yards for 3 minutes.
I think Todd Monken thought right here is the spot to be aggressive. Now, if it had been 2nd and 4, 2nd and 3, I think I would have more so there. But right, this is a good time, especially from this formation, because this is their traditional. Hey, we're going to run, sort of power or stretch zone plays or play action off of it. Which the play action here is the fake is not as much because Zamir has to get the backside in pass pro. But still, this is one you just got to make. We knew it in the game. Bowers almost made a phenomenal catch. It was the correct call, I think, because of
to take the shot.
Well, to take the shot, but also the correct call incomplete, because he had it and his foot was down, and then he was bobbling with it. So he didn't really maintain control. But this is a touchdown play, and this is the enigma, the Jekyll and Hyde that I wrote about after the game that you get with Stetson Bennett. You're going to see phenomenal plays on this drive, but these throws right here, you just got to make them.
Yeah, agreed. How he responds to that's the thing about this drive, and I think about Georgia's offense right now. After you make mistakes, after adversity happens, and really for the whole team with the flu, some of the off-field stuff with Adam Anderson, like how is the team responding? I think that's what you're seeing with here. So now you get to a 3rd and 7. You've just taken a shot that was there, but you didn't execute it. What happens now?
Now you got some motion. This is zone as nobody's following, so you're not necessarily a man-to-man. So you have some form of zone and or off, even if you have man-to-man at the top of the screen, you have your guy, A.D. Mitchell, and this is a easy sort of read and look for Stetson Bennett. I think they even drop down into the
there's at least some communication with this safety saying, get lined up over here.
Yes, I'm pretty sure on this play they drop down into the box on the snap, but no, it's not that one. But so you hear, and you got him right on the end cut. You got a clearing route on the outside, and when you see Stetson with these throws, when he throws this ball in rhythm, where it's top of the drop, set in, drive into the throw, he throws the ball in the middle of the field very, very well. It's something he's done from the moment he's played. And this is a great contested catch from Mitchell. Big time play on, from the pocket. You got good pass protection. First down.
Couple of things to note here. One, watch James Cook out of the backfield on the wheel. It's obvious that it's on tape that, hey, if James Cook's running the wheel, we got to cover that. And you actually see it later in the drive. Two, the other thing, Kyrus Jackson's streaking open to cover the backside of where Cook is vacated.
Yes, and that's, a little crossing route. And you got levels. And that's when you think about an offensive coordinator, how you're going to design any sort of passing game, you have to have levels. You have to have, different size, different levels, different parts of the field. You can run it back just a little bit to the pass protection. And if you look at this, watch Van Pran at center. Right about there. Ooh, what's that? Is that his head going backwards because there's a hand up in his...
That'd be a face mask that was not called.
That would be hands to the face. Oh, well. First down anyway.
First down for Georgia, so that's 5 plays through the drive. You're approaching midfield, 1st and 10. You just hit A.D. Mitchell, and he's been
the other great job of the offense
this year. Growing, I would say.
Oh, yeah. And the other great job of the offense right here was there was a little bit of fighting for the ball at the end of that throw, and the ball comes out, and they went tempo, and they went fast. Hey, I'm going to go and get a play off and go not let you sort of review that play because they're fighting. I mean, it was a catch, but the late fighting, that way you have and now it's aggressive time. Now you're under 2 minutes. But going in tempo right there was great just because of the situation.
So Bennett comes right back, looks for his guy, Mitchell, runs a great route to the outside, catches, plants the foot, turns upfield, gets as much as he can. Really good yards after the catch.
Yes, and just a great route. Just a phenomenal route when you look at the route itself. And by the way, that's not against a bad player. Alontae Taylor's a really good player. And what's interesting to me, if just the way Mitchell moves outside of the contested catch, and we were talking about this beforehand, but outside of the contested catch ability and the down the field ability that you get with George Pickens, just the way he runs his routes and the way he moves, if you just put number 1 on him, he'd look very similar. Similar builds, similar, but he's played well. And he's played well in the clutch as well as he did on this drive, and we're going to see it even more so here in a little bit.
By the way, he runs right into Brock Vandegrift, who could be his future QB1. Who knows?
There you go.
There you go. A wild couple of years. They're both freshmen, so I'm just saying there's a potential combination there. Runs right into him, gets a little dap out of it. 2 straight first downs to A.D. Mitchell. So now this is a 1st and 10 play.
Yep.
Nothing here.
Pressure.
Stetson.
From the inside.
tosses the ball at the feet of James Cook.
And
Incomplete pass.
It's a great heads-up play. It's a great heads-up play. It's also a possibly really, really dumb heads-up play. But if that ball gets knocked out and where it's a fumble as opposed to a incompletion, but still yet good play. Blitz. They bring more than you can block.
James Cook whiffs on that one block anyway. But
they bring a late blitzer with 33. He gets up the middle and gets there. But hey, good play, incompletion, move on. Now you're looking at it. You got minute and a half to go. You're on inside their territory, inside the 40, right around the 40. Now it's time to get moving down the field and do things. But something negative happened that kind of pushed that back a little bit on second down.
You see how close this was. I mean, he's got to have a lot of awareness that James Cook is right there. Otherwise, that could be intentional grounding and really stall out this drive.
And I've coached quarterbacks for 6-7 years now and worked with others for longer than that. And that ability to be able to do those things right there, you just can't teach. There's nothing about that you teach. That's just a kid who's played some backyard football his entire life and is just winging it.
So now we're at 2nd and 10, minute and 31 left. Tennessee side of the field, so field goal still in play. Still enough time to go for the touchdown. This is Bennett to Kenny McIntosh. A little bit of a low throw, but wrangled in fine. Penalty flag on the play for Brock Bowers.
Yes, it's a great job of Kenny Mack getting what he could get. But you get the penalty that you think is just like, that's drive killing type penalty because of where it occurs. So you're going to be 2nd and 20. And it's one of those things where as much this offense, I think every offense is this way, but this one especially needs to stay on schedule. 2nd and 16, 1st and 15, like a lot of that stuff. It's not good for how they play. Now they've been explosive in the passing game, and they're about to be explosive on this play here a little bit, but still, yet it's not ideal in this situation. But 2nd and 20, and Stetson just makes a play.
Other than the touchdown, I think this is probably the play of the drive. 2nd and 20, you're backed up close to midfield now. You're probably thinking field goal for a lot of teams. Bennett looks, fakes, steps up, throws across his body, and finds A.D. Mitchell to make it 3rd and short.
3rd and 5, and which, by the way, 15 yards. So that is technically an explosive pass play. But two things: run it back to the beginning. With the motion out of the backfield, nobody goes with him. They just slide a little bit. All right, now you have zone. He comes and he sets, and you see him separate. And when he separates, he's ready to throw that ball to Burton on the hitch on the backside, but the linebacker gets in his window. So he instantly says, okay, done with that. They've now, because of the spacing on the field, he has a lane up the middle. Okay, I'm going to go get what I can get. But as he does that, the wherewithal to keep his head up down the field and knowing that you have an in-breaking route on the backside, that's phenomenal ability by him, phenomenal throw. The guy almost gets his hand on it in a big-time play in a situation where they were behind the chains, and he just made a play.
Do you ever think that, I guess the number 6 here would stop this from happening, but would he ever step up to get this linebacker to draw in and go back to Burton anyway?
I don't think so, just because he's already looked that way.
Yeah.
His head's going to go back the other way after already looking that way and kind of deciding, hey, I'm done. Now I'm moving somewhere else.
Good point that these are all such quick decisions that there's so much instinct involved.
Yep. It is. He has playmaker instincts, next level playmaker instincts.
I think the more that Georgia can let Stetson Bennett incorporate this into his game, the better off the offense will be, because when we talk about mobility, if he's got a good arm, which we know he does, this is what's possible. It's the unscripted, the improvisation.
And I think, previewing a little bit, if it's Alabama in the SEC championship, which is likely going to be, you're going to see them move the pocket a lot, I think, with him in that game.
Following play goes for the 4th catch for A.D. Mitchell, which is just a highlight reel, outstanding. I mean, you want to throw this pass to the outside and keep it low to make sure it's not going to be an interception, but this is to the extreme on both of those ends. I mean, this should have been an incompletion, and A.D. Mitchell bails out Stetson Bennett.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you never know, hey, was he supposed to come back to the football one step sooner? Or was he supposed to hold on to the football? That's something, the timing of that, but still yet, you put the ball on the outside and you let your guy go make a play, and boy, did he make a play right here. And it was funny listening to them talk on the broadcast about whether or not this, and I'm like, it never touches the ground. They were like, well, if it touches the ground. No, the ball never touched the ground at all. He does a phenomenal job of sliding and keeping the ball off the ground in any way. Great catch.
So that's 4 catches on what I think is probably the most impressive drive that Georgia's had all season for A.D. Mitchell. 4 catches for Mitchell on this drive. 48 seconds left.
Now we set up the screen. All right, so now they get into a situation, you feel like Tennessee's going to bring some pressure. They do, so you're going to throw the screen behind them, which is set up well, except a guy comes off a little bit late and gets into his face, as opposed to flying maybe up the field more to where he can, have a window. And also Van Pran there gets the guy on his left works to his right a little more, so that clouds that window. If that window isn't as clouded for him to throw the screen, because what's interesting about Stetson, if you pause it right there, is like that's one, maybe he pops it over the guy's head, and you got linemen out there. You just got one guy, but it was actually, I think, beneficial, because if he does pop it over his head, one, he pops it too high, and because the guy for Tennessee slips through McClendon, might pick it, or two, you get a catch and an instant tackle. Now you got to use a timeout. Now, the situation's a little different versus just, hey, throw the incompletion, move on, second down. We got plenty of time.
We've said that Bennett has to limit mistakes, mitigate mistakes. This is what that looks like. Could this have been a potential reward out of this? Sure. But he makes, I think, probably the smarter play here. Did it twice on this drive. Get rid of the ball, live for another down.
Yep. Never go broke taking a profit. And that to me is that's a win, and as opposed to a big loss or something that could potentially be a bad thing. Now this one is just beautifully set up.
After 11 plays, you get to the 12th play of a drive. You're down in Tennessee territory, 43 seconds left. You have all 3 timeouts. So, plenty of options on the board here. 2nd and 10, and then you see James Cook in motion. We know what happens after this, but I'd love to hear your commentary on it.
Well, it's basically outside. The formation is not exact. It wasn't the exact formation of the Alabama play, but the instant you see 38 running out wide, and this, by the way, is probably a call based upon a tendency of Tennessee, in this portion of the field, down in distance, things like that. Hey, they're going to try to bring pressure, or they're at least going to be in some form of true man-to-man coverage, cover one in this case, with a single safety over the top. And what's beautiful about this, once you see the linebacker go out, you have man, Cook is in man on that linebacker. And what Stetson does here is sort of coaching tape from what you would do as a quarterback, where he catches the ball and instantly puts his eyes on the safety. Because all he has to do is hold that safety for 2 steps, two back pedals, and the safety is not making in that play at all. And then he shifts his hips, hitches up, makes the throw, and puts it in an absolute perfect spot to Cook for the touchdown. But it's impeccable quarterback work from him here. Into the drop, eyes where they need to be. 1, 2, hitch up, rotate, throw, and put the ball out on a spot and let your great back go get it and catch it. And when you think about Cook on that drive, the 3 different types of runs, this play here, what he did the rest of the game, big day for him, big drive for Stetson, game-changing drive for the Bulldogs.
Other thing on this play, pass protection was stellar.
Yes.
Great job by the guys up front. As we'll see one more time here, and then we'll wrap this video up. Check out the protection, the time he has to be able to have that look, keep his rhythm. Pocket is so clean, delivered a perfect strike.
And you talk about Truss coming into the game. Watch Truss and McClendon work together here. The linebacker, the outside edge defender, tries to come inside. The linebacker wraps around. And what you get here is a nice pass off between those two. Working there. All right, now work in. Pass it off to the outside. Perfect pocket. Just a phenomenal play. Great play, great call, great way to end the half. And you took the momentum big time into the half. You got the ball to start the second half. And it, like I said, 2 weeks in a row now, 2-minute, legit 2-minute drill up, and they just go down the field and put touchdowns on the board. You can't say how valuable that is for, one, confidence, but two, just for the team in that in each individual game.
And for Georgia's offense, I think it's all about resolve. And for Stetson Bennett, when a mistake happens, how do you respond to it? In multiple weeks now, we've seen after he makes a mistake, he follows it with just really a professional NFL quality throw or good decision making. That's a sign of a really experienced football player. Is he going to be some All-American Heisman type quarterback? No, he's not going to be that. However, he can lead a team to a national championship. It's way bigger than him. The offense is rallying around him. And when you see Jermaine Burton get back, when you see A.D. Mitchell growing before our eyes, when you see even the chosen boy Brock Bowers making a mistake on that drive, but it worked out anyway, there's a lot of factors in the offense to be excited about. And I think the ability to overcome those circumstances, the adversity on this kind of drive, that's what made it so special. And if Georgia can do that against the best teams on the schedule, I think it's going to be a pretty fun December really into January.
Very much so. And I was asked last week on a radio hit that I did if UGA could win the national championship because of Stetson Bennett, not necessarily with Stetson Bennett. And my answer is 100% yes. If he blends a sort of the game manager role where he's taking checkdowns, making the throws like the one he missed to McConkey early in the game, like the one he's missing to Bowers there, those throws that were just there to be for the taking, and more the sort of quote easier throws and or checkdowns, he blends that with his playmaking ability and his aggression and his sort of gunslinger mentality, blends those two, you 100% can win a national championship because of him.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed this Film Don't Lie Extra from UGAsports.com. If you like our work, make sure you are a subscriber to UGAsports.com, where you get Film Don't Lie every single week from Brent and myself. We'll appear back here on our YouTube channel for Around the League on Thursday. That's our weekly podcast with Jim Donnan during the season, where we talk about every game in the SEC. And then also make sure you're watching our UGA Sports Watch Along show. That's on Saturday for Georgia versus Charleston Southern, a noon kick. We should be live about 15 minutes before kickoff, so you can check us out there. Thanks for supporting UGAsports.com and Film